Hello everyone, and welcome to the review of the ENGWE E26. And I must be honest, I have been studying this bike for some time and I just kept staring at it because besides being a very interesting review, this bike is truly interesting. It's interesting because ENGWE it's doing something with their latest models. They are kind of getting the best components and the best feedback they got on their bikes, and they are always trying to put the best components that they had until now onto the next iteration of a new model bike. So what they have great on the other previous one, they kept and put on a new bike, and somehow they come up with better and better and better bikes, and they make them more efficient, more powerful, more interesting, more safe, and the list goes on. And you might say, what's so interesting about this bike? Because it has a frame that looks like the P26 or other bikes that you can buy. So it's a standard frame, nothing different there. It has wheels, it has a headlamp, it has disc brakes. Everyone has disc brakes these days. So what's so special about it? So I'm not going to make this any longer than necessary, and I'm going to jump right into the details. And the most important thing, we are going to start with the motor. And as you can see, it's one of the biggest hub motors that ENGWE has made until now. And that's for a reason. Inside it has planetary gears, which is a reduction system, so it's a torque multiplier. And this motor now offers 17 Newton meters torque, which is very good for a hub motor. Keep in mind, it's not a mid-drive motor. This is a hub motor with 70 Newton meters, which is really, really good. Also, I'm going to call this, it's not official and it's not anywhere referred to that. This is a variable power motor because this motor can work in European conditions with just 250 watts of power, but like all other ENGWE bikes, this motor can be unlocked and supports power up to about 1000 watts of power. So you can unlock it, yes, you can have a lot more power going into it, and also it's going to spin faster, so it's legal 25 kilometers per hour, but unlocked it can do about 40 kilometers per hour. It's not a very fast motor, it's not going to go more than 40 kilometers per hour because of the internal gearing, which gives it a lot more torque but less speed, because there are some motors that are higher geared and are better for higher speed, but they have lesser torque output. And because we are talking about the drivetrain and the powertrain, the Shimano standard shifter that you have on all the ENGWE bikes with 7-speed, it's not an 8-speed, it's a 7-speed. The gears are now perfectly adjusted to the wheel size, the bike size, and the speed range. You can now pedal this bike uphill in the lowest gear, and the motor will have enough torque to help you get up very steep hills. Also, if you unlock the bike, you are not going to pedal like a mouse in a wheel anymore, because you can actually now pedal this bike at about 40 kilometers per hour without dying out trying to keep up the speed of the pedaling, because they done the gearing right, and together with the 26-inch wheels and fat tires, which makes them about 29-inch, it's a real pleasure to pedal, and pedal assisted now. Also, you probably remember from my other reviews that sometimes I said that ENGWE brakes were not the best because they are using very cheap normal cable line pulled brakes. Well, they really upgraded that, and now they have full hydraulic brakes, and we have 180 millimeter disc, and this has huge stopping power. So we have both front and rear full hydraulic 180 millimeters, and that gives it impressive braking performance. Another improvement is the new battery system. The battery, it's a 48 volt battery and has 16 amp capacity, which makes this 768 watt hour capacity. It's one of the biggest batteries that ENGWE fits on their e-bikes, but this one is of course removable. You can take it out of the frame and quickly replace it with another one, and you can buy 2 batteries, take one with you, and do some really long trips. Or if you are a delivery guy, you can have one charging and ride the other one and then just replace them. The battery is also safe because it has a key lock and it doesn't come out without using it, and it's quickly replaceable. Also, talking about the details and quality, for instance, when you remove the battery, you have chances of hitting the frame with the battery. So ENGWE thought about that, and maybe you are going to see, maybe not on the camera, they have here sticked silicone padding. So when you take this out, it's going to hit that silicone padding and it's not going to destroy the paint job of your brand new bike. Also here on the top of the battery, again, good thinking, you have a charge port here, you have a quick test button to see the capacity of the battery, but the battery is going also to charge from the bike frame, so you don't have to remove the battery. You have here another charge port which has a rubber cap, and this rotates like this, so you are not going to break it anymore, or it's not going to stick out to hit your connector here. So you can charge it from here or charge it from the battery, so that makes really useful. For instance, you are going at work, you can take the battery with you and charge it. And the features don't end here. For instance, we get a redesigned rack that supports 25 kilograms, but is really well built, very solid, so you can carry whatever you want here. And it has some extra fixing screws, so you can add something to fix a structure on it, such as a basket. Also on the front of the frame we have these inserts that you get on the L20, and here you can actually fix another bracket or a basket or another carrying thing. So really nice to have that. And there is another improvement here. First of all, the seat is a redesigned ENGWE seat. It's now a lot more comfortable. It has a lot more side padding and it's wider. It's more comfortable for city use and long roads usage. It's no longer a sporty seat, but really comfortable, and it has a built-in shock absorber that actually works pretty good. And I don't know if that's a feature or not, but you can actually adjust this to your weight. It has this screw here, and you can use a hex key inside, and with the hex key you can make that go downward to make it stiffer, or take it upward to make it softer. But you need to take care not to take this completely out, as your seat will fall in, and it writes that on that label there. And it also has a safety lock here, a safety clip to keep that from not getting out by mistake. So really nice idea. Sadly, it doesn't use any more plastic sleeve, a nylon sleeve, so the seat post will scratch rather easy when you adjust it up and down. It's going to leave marks on it, but at least you have a suspension seat, which is a lot more nice than a nylon sleeve. The handlebar is very comfortable because it has a small bend in it, and it has this adjustable part here, so you can raise it up or make it lean forward a bit. Also, it's clutter-free because on this part here you only have the grip, the brake, and the interface for the controller, the LCD. On this side here you also have the brake, the grip, the shifter, and the acceleration, which is the half twist, which is probably the best option to have if you want a sleek looking handlebar. The display is all in color display, which is actually rather readable in the daylight, but on the camera screen you are not going to see too much. Probably you are going to see some 00 here, but this is okay, you can read it in sunlight. And as I've told you, ENGWE tries to put new parts when they have old parts that are not so functional or not so very good. For instance, the new headlamp here, the new headlamp is super big, super powerful. It has something like angel eyes, it has daytime running lights, but sadly they are not working independently from the main beam, while the main beam is a very powerful LED with focusing lens. So this actually makes some decent light when you are running at nighttime. It's also big, but it's no longer made out of metal such as the ones from the M20. So this is also lighter, but very powerful, very bright. You can actually feel it as it's producing warmth when it touches my skin. So really powerful LED there, and does the job rather well. Improvements were done also on the wheel department. Now we no longer have alloy wheels, we have spoked wheels. This makes them a lot more easy, so the general weight of the bike goes down, which is a good thing. And we get redesigned reflectors. If you watch my ENGWE E26 review, there was a con. They used side wheel reflectors that were for normal bikes, and because the wheel was very big, somehow those were twisting on the spokes and could actually rotate like this and hit the suspension arms. So they totally changed them with these ones, which are huge but fix really well. Other thing worth mentioning are these screws here and here. So now you can actually install here an extra bag or something, or put not one but actually two bottles on the frames. So you have here the places where to fix that. You are no longer going to need zip ties and improvisation if you want to add extra accessories for carrying stuff with your bike. We also get the newer designed stop lamp, which also has a brake lamp, and this is super powerful. You can see this in daytime without any kind of problems. You can also see it a bit from the side and also from the top. The pedals are also no longer foldable and no longer plastic. It's the Well-Go full aluminum or something alloy pedals. These are rather resistant and they have small spikes on them, so your legs will not slip over them even if you are wet on your feet. Okay, so now let's take it for a ride to see how it works. Keep in mind that I've got some extra weight, so I'm weighing around 92 kilograms today. I need to take a strict diet, I know, and my backpack today is also a bit heavy, so it has something like 5 to 6 kilograms. So keep that in mind. That's the weight that is going to be tested on this bike today. So bike feels pretty easy. I'm going to add a link for the details because I completely forgot the weight of it, but it's definitely lighter than the ENGWE Engine X, the Engine Pro, the X24, the X26. So it's lighter than all of those models, so it should also perform nice with my added weight. Let's try it out. So I'm going to power it on, and it does this quick check of the display, and it's in zero assisted mode. With acceleration is disabled in zero mode, so I'm going to also enable the acceleration so I can quickly start. I use the throttle for giving it a boost, and now I'm on the bike. Right, so I'm going to go back into the assisted mode 1, and let's see how this rides. So if I pedal, it picks rather quick. It's a standard assisted mode. It's a sensor built with the pedals. If it feels that you are pedaling, it assists you. It's not an advanced torque sensor, but this does the job, and it's efficient if you know how to adjust the gears and the electric gears proportional to how you are riding out. And another thing that you are going to notice right away, so I'm not pedaling, so it's not using the assistance, and the bike rolls really nice because that geared motor also is having a one-way clutch. So when you are not pedaling or going like here, which is a very low ramp, you are going to find out that this coasts really well because the motor disconnects from the wheel and it's not going to put any kind of resistance when you are not pedaling or not using it. So if I give it a bit of speed, now I'm not going to do anything, and you can see hopefully the speed here, it's almost the same. It's just slowly getting down, and this goes and goes and goes and goes. And this actually is very important because even if it's a heavier bike with very big motor, this improves the efficiency of the bike and really increases the total range that you can achieve with one battery charge. And now I'm going to go straight to fifth assisted mode, and I'm going to use just the throttle. And this is so much better than pedaling, of course. But the speed here goes up really fast. And I've got to 38 point something, so almost 40 kilometers per hour in just a few moments. So the acceleration on this bike is rather crazy because it has all that available torque. And when you are starting from standstill, you can feel this like a motorbike. It tries to lift up a bit. You can see that you can feel the front suspension, it's extending a bit if you adjust the preload. So when it's a bit, when your weight is on the suspension and it goes a bit in, when you accelerate, the suspension fork extends. The bike feels like it just wants to jump because of all of that torque is put on an instant. And this thing can go really nice, really nice. And even though it's a 26-inch fat tire and it's rather big, it's a big frame, somehow you feel really comfortable on this, and it's very controllable. It feels like you are riding a smaller bicycle, a lighter bike. You can take very sharp turns with it. You can even do some crazy acceleration during turns. And the braking is brilliant, so you can lock the wheels in an instant, and combining front and rear brakes freezes you almost instantly. You can also hear the rear tire is going to lose grip, so you are braking with the front really hard and it lifts the rear wheel up. The braking power is huge on this bike with those oversized discs. Now let's try the gear. So I'm going to go in first gear. I'm in zero assisted mode, so I'm going to fully stop and I'm going to try to start it without any kind of power. And you can feel it that it's an electric bike because it's heavy, but you can ride it. First gear, I'm doing 10 kilometers per hour and keeping this speed absolutely no problem. I cannot say it's easy like a normal bike, but you can ride this. If you are out of battery or you have a problem with that, you can ride this. I'm doing now actually 13 kilometers per hour, 14, and I'm not dying. So pretty good job here with the gearing and the motor. Now there's a very steep ramp here. I'm going to use assisted mode 1, so the motor should start to help me, and you can hear it. It's modulating power, and I'm saved by the motor doing a very steep ramp in first gear. And now let's see how the bike rides with faster gear. So in assisted 2, I'm doing already 18 kilometers per hour, so I need to change at least 2 gears. So I'm on third gear here, and it's now okay. Mode 3. And I'm now using 5th gear, and I'm pedaling rather comfortable. 6th gear, it's almost perfect for doing this for a very long time. Let's see further. Okay, we can go. So I'm going to give it one more assisted mode 4, and here I'm on the last gear, on the 7th gear. So I'm doing 40 kilometers per hour in assisted pedaling. And the best thing is that I can keep the pedaling speed, and I'm not pedaling too fast, which is really well. So you can actually pedal as fast as the motor will go. You can do 40 kilometers per hour in assisted mode pedaling, which is perfect, because on most e-bikes, when you unlock them, the gearing is no longer sufficient for the unlock speed, and you are going to become a hamster that pedals too fast. It's not happening on this one, so they did the gearing perfectly right, which I told you also in the beginning of this video. And the acceleration is really nice. And another interesting thing on this bike, I think that there is a limit implemented, but I'm not sure yet, because on the 5th assisted mode, the throttle is only going to work up to 38 kilometers per hour, and then you are going to somehow hear the motor that is no longer putting a lot of effort. So something is happening, because if I just leave it in 5th assisted mode, but I'm not going to use the throttle, I'm just going to pedal out, and you are going to see something here. Just watch this, hopefully you are going to see it. So I'm doing 38, 40, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50. And I'm doing 50.4 kilometers per hour, but I do pedal a bit fast. So what's happening here is that somehow when you are in assisted mode, in the 5th mode, which is max and with no speed limit, this bike will try to assist you over 40 kilometers per hour. But what is more interesting is that you are not going to put a lot of effort, so the motor is not needing assistance from you. The motor has enough power to actually take you to 50 kilometers per hour without you putting effort. But to do that, you are still going to need to pedal like crazy to do 50 kilometers per hour. But if you want to do 50 kilometers per hour as a short speed burst, you can do it with the bike. Amazing. And again, the suspension, the fat tires work really nice here. This mixed terrain with sand, gravel, grass, feels like, I cannot lie and say that it's like asphalt, but it's a very smooth ride and you have a lot of grip. Another thing that I like is the suspension. The front one, you know, it's the same fork that you get on all the other ENGWE bikes. It's not the best fork, it's a cheap fork, but does the job properly. It's not the longer dual fork, it's a simple one. That's not meant for going downhill or other things like that. But this, with the preload and locking options, is pretty decent, because you can adjust it for your weight, for your riding style, and when you don't need it, you can actually lock it out. So it's like a regular fork. So the front shock suspension works pretty good. While on the rear, you don't have any suspension on the frame, but you get the suspension of the seat, which really works nice if you adjust that screw a bit. as I've shown you. I actually turned it up a few more turns, and now it's perfect for my extra weight. And also with the fat tires, you soak up all those small bumps and cracks in the road, so those are not fillable, while when you go over a bigger bump, that's one, it's taken by the front shock and the suspension in your seat. And it's pretty comfortable doing that. And with this thing, you are avoiding the complication of having a rear suspension, which adds more weight, more maintenance, more failure points. But this also depends to your riding style. But if you are doing not very extreme off-roading, you can use this with the shock suspension in the seat and in the front, and it's pretty good. And together with the fat tires, you are all okay with that. And talking about off-road, why not do some off-roading? And yes, this rides pretty damn well on rough terrain. You can actually see the front shock absorber doing a lot of trouble there, because it leaves some grease marks on it. And about the grease marks on the shock absorber, I'm going to tell you something. It's a thing that a lot of people ask and say, my front shock absorber is no longer working, it's leaking out oil. It's not a hydraulic shock absorber. This is a mechanical shock absorber. It has a spring inside and some rubber washers and stuff like that, and it has a long screw with some parts that you compress and decompress the spring, so it makes the suspension more soft or more hard. And to make this all go together well and be useful for a very long mileage and not break down too fast, inside it has a lot of Vaseline, yes, grease, and you have here some rubber caps with this metal wire that holds them tight over this. So these O-rings here keep the grease inside, but as long as these are clean, even if when they are brand new, that grease is going to get out a bit, because at the beginning it's a lot more inside, and when this works up and down, some of the grease is going to escape. That's not a problem. Just wipe the dirt here and that's okay. If you get too much dirt here, the dirt will destroy this O-ring here, and then dirt is going to go in, and also grease is going to get out more faster than that. So that's it. It's not a problem when you see grease here on the shock absorbers, and that happens especially when the bike is new, because it has more grease inside. So just wipe them, clean them. Also, another interesting thing on this bike, the controller is somehow different from all the other ENGWE ones, because it works different. In first gear, the throttle is using the whole range, so it gets me to 38 kilometers per hour. So it does that in first gear, second gear, fourth gear, and it doesn't matter what I choose here. So it doesn't work in zero, it works the same in all of those, while the assisted mode, the speed is unlimited in fifth, and all the others are slower limited speeds. So somehow the assisted mode and throttle mode work different. And some extra testing, some proper testing, how it should be done. And again, the bike performs really well here. It's very maneuverable and the ride quality is very good because the suspension does a great job and you can feel the seat also doing a good job. And I like the torque of the bike because you have an instant response to the accelerator. That torque really does the job. Let's see, can I do something crazy? I can do something crazy. I did somehow manage to get across, but I did stop a bit. I have a saying that when you are in doubt, just use more throttle. So I didn't use enough throttle, but then this performs so nice. And now is the time for the final conclusions. You have seen how the bike rides, how it performs, and how well it rides actually. Because as you've seen, this is very comfortable. Even though it's big, it's kind of nimble. You can take very sharp turns with it. It's very stable. but you can ride this, it feels like it's a lighter bike, a smaller bike. It doesn't feel big in any kind of way. I also like a lot the frame and the build quality, although it doesn't have hidden welds and they look rather nasty in some places. They are very solid because here you have a widened headset here, and this making it wider, it adapts to a wider frame and has more surface area where it's welded, and these are also welded between them. And you have here also another extra part reinforcement, so the weld here is super strong. Then you have the classic triangle shape, which gives it more strength, and again here there's another triangle, and here a rectangular part with this reinforcement, which serves also support for the mudguard but reinforces the frame. So the frame is very solid, and with this geometry the bike feels very solid. There's nothing loose on it, there's no rattle sound, no noise, nothing. All I had to do on this bike to adjust, I only did something like 2 turns of this screw, because the chain was not going on to the first or lowest gear here. It was only stopping on the neighboring one. So I tightened up the cable here from untwisting this about 2 turns, and that was it. Other from that, brakes didn't need any kind of adjustment and are fully hydraulic. They don't touch, they don't make stupid noises. The bike doesn't rattle, doesn't do any kind of noise. Only now, as the first con and pro, there's a huge debate with the mudguards on the bikes and with the ENGWE, and there were also some problems with the mudguards. But in this case particular, you have metal mudguards, which by some users are hardly appreciated because they have a nice aspect and they are more resistant. But they have this problem. They are simply noise amplifiers. So if you go over a rough road or something, they won't make a noise in particular, but they somehow reflect the noise and the vibration of the bike. So they increase a bit the noise. So it would be interesting if ENGWE someday would provide an optional plastic mudguard. So you can choose metal mudguards, plastic mudguards. I know that that sounds more complicated for a factory because they have 2 lines of production and they have to have double stock for a single type of item, but I think that having plastic mudguards will end this mudguard dispute forever. So take them off if you don't like them, put plastic, they don't rattle, or put metal if you want them to be stylish and more resistant than plastic. And to be honest, rather than this mudguard story, I actually don't have something, a con about this bike. So I've tried to find something even minor, because I have a saying that there is no perfect product, so every product should have something bad or something that should be improved. Well, the mudguards don't have any kind of problem. Maybe they can be changed for the ones that feel that they could have a problem. Mine don't have a problem. But other than that, I cannot find a problem. The pedal works, wheels are lined up and are not offset, shifter works, brakes are very good. The motor, it's really nice. Battery runs pretty good, 15 kilometers, no change in charge level. Of course, there's something that has drained from the battery, and the battery is showing here is not very exact because it only has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 digits. So maybe the last digit is not that reliable, but still the bike performs really good. The headlamp is exceptional. It's really bright and light. Also, the stop lamp, it's compact but super bright, super powerful, and it also has a brake light function. So really cannot say something bad about. Okay, let's say this wire doesn't look very good here. It's just an aesthetic problem. But functionality, I cannot fault this. So I can truly say that this bike is one of the best that ENGWE has made until now. So if you are not into a full suspension e-bike model, probably this is the perfect one for you. Also, I'm going to nickname this, it's an old tradition of mine, I'm going to call it the Black Godzilla, and because the color is understandable, but the size of this bike, you are not going to fully see it on the camera because there's no comparison with something. But this bike, it's actually very big, it's not compact, even the shape seems to be like a normal bike. This top part here, it's over my belly, so it's really high. So the bike itself is really high, but somehow, even if it's so big, this can actually adapt smaller riders because the seat post can go really down, and somehow the handlebar in this position and adjust it this way, it's actually not very far from you, so you are comfortable on it and you don't have the annoying sporty position that you need to stay something like this to be able to grab it and lean forward so your back will hurt, because we are not racing these bikes. This is more like an utility bike, a city bike, a trekking bike, long distance bike, so you don't go racing and staying like that on it. And with that said, I'm going to also tell you that definitely there are going to be extra videos about this model on my channel, so you can check those here, and here you are also going to find more ENGWE related videos, so you can compare the bikes and my options about them. And until my next video, see you and bye bye.